So, I get a lot of comments on my glove knife combo videos of people saying that the gloves I show are not actually field tested, but factory new. And so today, I'm going to explain how you make cheaper field tested gloves look nearly flawless. Hopefully this video will save you a ton of money and you'll get to enjoy a really clean pair of gloves next time you decide to pick some up. So let's get into it. There are two main factors that decide how gloves look, and that will be the flow and wear pattern. Let me explain how both of these work. Most people are aware of float. It's the number that each glove gets assigned once unboxed, and dictates how much wear both of the gloves will receive. The float range for gloves is 0.06 to 0.80, and that also explains why factory new gloves are so rare and expensive, because the range for gloves to be in this condition is a tiny 0.01. But that's not the focus here, because if you're looking for the best price to performance, field tested is king for gloves. The field tested range is 0.15 to 0.38, which means there is a massive difference between low float field tested gloves and higher float. If you want gloves to stay cheap and look good at the same time, my recommended float range is 0.18 to 0.22, and that's because the price will stay field tested for the most part, but your actual wear value is pretty low, and at this range, most gloves with good wear patterns will look nearly perfect. And that leads me into wear patterns, which most people don't even know exist. Now, most people know that the pattern ID will change a skin's appearance if the skin is pattern based, but what about skins that don't change looks from pattern to pattern? Does it still make a difference? And the answer is yes, it's extremely important because your pattern ID not only determines the pattern applied, but also the wear. So we could take a look at gloves that have the exact same wear, but different patterns, and what you'll notice is these gloves look very different in terms of wear. The actual scratch and wear marks are applied in completely different locations. So to recap, the pattern of a skin also determines where the actual wear shows up, rather than just how the skin looks in terms of design. That's how you get gloves that have higher wear but look better than the exact same gloves with lower wear. It means that pair of gloves has a really good wear pattern. You could test this out in an inspect server by using 0.20 non-pattern based gloves and changing the pattern ID to see where the actual scratches show up. Now inherently, some gloves have better wear patterns than others and look good at high floats, while others look beat up even in low flow conditions. Let me show you some examples. Hedge mazes are gloves that have insanely good wear patterns, and this 0.20 float pair looks literally perfect, near identical to the factory new ones that cost thousands of dollars more. Another good example is overprints. They only get more gray with higher wear, so this 0.20 pair looks nearly perfect as well. Amphibious gloves on the other hand have inherently terrible wear patterns, and this 0.20 float pair looks pretty rough, even though it has the exact same flow as the other two gloves that I just showed. It's so bad on amphibious gloves that even factory new has scratches on it, which really shouldn't even be a thing, but I don't make the rules. Same thing for duct tapes. 0.20 and there's a ton of really visible wear that makes the gloves look pretty bad at a relatively low float. So to keep gloves cheap at their field tested price and make them look very clean, you're going to look for two specific things: a float range of 0.18 through 0.22 and a pattern ID that basically has all of the wear in places where it's not visible. Now I'm going to show you guys a bunch of gloves at 0.20 float that have really good wear patterns and look nearly flawless in their field tested conditions. Smokeouts look excellent in field tested. The only wear that you'll get is on the cuffs with a couple scratches that are barely visible. Now the thing about superconductors is that they only get wear on the cuffs and the cuffs are white, so it is visible, but literally the entire rest of the glove is absolutely perfect. Darker colored gloves like the Nox barely show any wear, and that's because the color basically conceals any of the wear that you would get at this float. Coolmints are another great example of moto gloves. They only get a couple scratches on the cuffs and the rubber part, but overall they look absolutely excellent at 0.20. Same thing with the turtles, the wear is only on the rubber part and it's barely visible. With specialist gloves, the wear pattern is incredibly important because the wear appears first on the Tortu logo, so you could either have no wear or a little bit of wear on the letters themselves. I think that the wear on hedge mazes is borderline broken because the wear only shows up on the seams, and so anything below 0.25 literally all looks the same. Very minor difference. Crimson Web gloves look excellent in field tested. The only wear that I see on this pattern ID is just on the Tortu logo near the E. Eclipse gloves are another example of really good wear patterns where at field tested you basically see no wear at all and it's very difficult to spot on the cuffs and the rubber part. Jade gloves get darker with higher wear, so there's no visible wear, they're just a bit dimmer than their factory new counterpart. Blood pressure gloves show wear on the leather, so you can mitigate that with a different wear pattern and move the wear to the side where it's not visible. Yeah, these big games look pretty much spotless. The only thing I see is a couple pixels on the cuffs, and that's not even visible when you're actually in game and playing. And for my final example, I'll show you guys Diamondbacks, which look flawless for their field tested condition. One last thing I'll mention is that the price of gloves is directly determined by float, not the condition. The lower the float gets, the more expensive the gloves get, even though they are the exact same condition. And the reason I recommend this specific float range is that you'll get an absolute deal in terms of price and how good the gloves look. When gloves get to minimal wear, regardless of how they look, the price has a massive jump from field tested, and for the most part gives you no benefit in terms of looks. You're basically paying a ton more for your gloves to have minimal wear written on them. So, now that I've explained this, you will have all the knowledge you need to get yourself a clean pair of gloves for an excellent price. For those that keep saying I use factory new gloves in my videos, this should explain everything, and all it takes is basic understanding of how floats and patterns work when applied on gloves. If you found this video helpful, consider subbing to the channel, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace out.